This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
ICE protests. Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast. In New York City's Chinatown yesterday, an angry mob confronted ICE agents during a law enforcement crackdown. Reporter Sam Brock was there.
Dozens of federal agents flooding the streets of Lower Manhattan yesterday in what DHS has called a targeted intelligence-driven operation. There were heavily armored cars and clashes with protesters.
Dozens were arrested, including a few protesters. Criminal defense attorney Josh Ritter.
These officers are out there doing an incredibly difficult job, and it's obviously potentially very dangerous, and they're trying their best to do it by preserving the safety of others, including those that they're detaining.
Protests got violent as well in Los Angeles on Tuesday. A school teacher took to a bullhorn to make the following threat against ICE.
They are not the only ones with guns in this city. The people have every right to defend themselves against masked, unidentified gunmen with AR-15s and other military rifles.
An illegal immigrant with a criminal record in L.A. is facing a judge today for reportedly using his vehicle as a weapon to attack ICE agents. A suspect in custody after ramming his car into a barricade last night outside the White House. Secret Service agents say this guy smashed into the front gates around 10:30 in the evening. President Trump was at the White House at the time, but was never in any danger. The U.S. Senate will vote again this afternoon on a measure that would pay essential government workers in the midst of the ongoing government shutdown, now the second longest in U.S. history. We get the very latest from Ryan Schmelz on Capitol Hill.
With the House still out of session for another week, House Speaker Mike Johnson has told lawmakers to be on 48 hours notice with the hope that a government employee pay bill passes. The stopgap measure to reopen the government has failed to reach the 60-vote threshold to break the Senate filibuster nearly a dozen times.
The shutdown entered day number 22 today. President Trump may demand $230 million from the U.S. Justice Department as compensation for investigations into his past conduct. The president says any settlement money he'd get, he'd donate to charity. Vice President J.D. Vance met today in Jerusalem with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. They're trying to hold together a fragile ceasefire deal with the terror group Hamas. More on the matter from Mideast scholar Ben Talabou.
This is going to be a bumpy road, make no mistake. Hamas is a terrorist organization, so this is not at all going to be easy. Disarming these terrorist organizations takes time, takes effort, and takes creativity, and that's the purpose, I think, of the vice president's trip.
The Trump administration vows Hamas will have no say on the future of Gaza. The terror group handed over the remains of 2 more Israeli hostages overnight. The bodies of 13 others remain unaccounted for in Gaza. President Trump has canceled plans for face-to-face talks with Russia's Vladimir Putin. Those talks were set to get underway in Budapest, Hungary, but it's not going to happen, says Fox's Jackie Heinrich.
Russia made no concessions before or after President Trump's first meeting with Vladimir Putin in Alaska, and instead Russia ratcheted up its war campaign. It appears Secretary of State Marco Rubio assessed after a call with his Russian counterpart that a second meeting would yield the same results.
Russia launched another massive drone and missile attack overnight on the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. Thousands of tourists are streaming once again through the glass pyramid at the Louvre Museum in Paris, France. It's the first time in 3 days that museum has been open since thieves staged a smash and grab of French crown jewels back on Sunday. The museum's Apollo room that housed those jewels is still closed off to the public. Those jewels are worth an estimated $100 million. A new study today shows many Americans want their Social Security now. Financial planner Deb Boyd.
The study finds that 44% of non-retired people plan to claim before they even reach full retirement age. And what is driving that? Again, our data suggests that people are claiming Social Security early out of necessity.
Boyd says people are also concerned their money might not be there if they wait to collect once they reach retirement age. Another poll by the University of Michigan today shows nearly 1 out of 10 preschoolers and toddlers rarely plays outside. 1 out of 10. This despite research that shows playing outdoors improves a child's overall mental and physical health. Still to come on the Noon Report, a midweek edition. Drug Take-Back Day, abortion expansion efforts, and why local elections matter so much.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams on the look and feel of early November over these next several days. I'll fill in the forecast details coming up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. Thank you very much. In the meantime, let's check the stories making news across New York and Pennsylvania. Abortion expansion efforts are taking center stage in Harrisburg today. The Democrat-led Pennsylvania House Judiciary Committee is voting on a half dozen bills that would, among other things, enshrine abortion rights in the Commonwealth's Constitution. The extreme legislation could also allow abortions up until the time of birth, could also remove parental consent laws and force taxpayers to foot the bill for elective abortions. Those abortion expansion efforts in the PA House expected to go nowhere in the Republican-led state Senate. NYSEG wants to raise your utility bills next year. If the Public Service Commission approves, the rate hike would take effect on May 1st of 2026. Candor, New York resident Janine Thomas.
I am a newly divorced single individual, and I am very nervous looking at the cost of heating my home for the winter.
The average NYSEG customer would see an increase of $33 per month on their utility bill if that rate hike gets the green light from the PSC. The Pennsylvania State Senate hosted a hearing Tuesday on a proposed cell phone ban at school. Aaron Chapin with the Pennsylvania Education Association says the time has come to enact no phone zones in the classroom.
Kids, they cannot developmentally handle these cell phones. Their brains have not developed yet, and they can't control the impulses every time it's dinging. Adults have a struggle enough as it is. Children have even more.
20 states, including New York, already have statewide bans on cell phone use in school. Pennsylvania's proposed law would leave it up to the local districts to decide how best to implement the ban at school. New gun removal laws are now in effect in the state of New York. It's to protect victims of domestic violence. Cops must now confiscate weapons when responding to domestic violence calls if the weapon is in the possession of somebody arrested for or suspected of committing a crime. These reforms would also change the timeline for returning seized weapons in order to keep firearms out of the hands of dangerous people. Pennsylvania Congressman Glenn Thompson is accusing Democrats of lacking the courage to find common ground with Republicans in ending the 22-day-old government shutdown.
It is absolutely unacceptable to shut down the government. There's no common sense. I don't think there's a commitment to the greater good when it comes to our nation among these folks. Their leadership has really led them off a ledge.
Democrats argue the shutdown could end today if only the president would get more involved. The congressman has his doubts.
The president and Republicans, we're negotiating with ourselves if we do that. We passed a clean continuing resolution. I'm not sure the president being involved is going to be a motivator with him.
In other words, open the government, then we'll talk, says Congressman Thompson. Democrats are demanding an extension of Obamacare health care subsidies before they'll agree to anything.
I mean, there are families that are making six figures that are getting these subsidies. And again, it was all COVID related. COVID is long over as an epidemic. Even the Senate and the House Democrats, when they created this program, recognized it would be temporary with a date when it would end.
The fiscal impasse now officially the second longest government shutdown lockdown eclipsed only by the shutdown of 2019. Election Day is just 13 days away, and local officials are predicting average turnout for this off-year election. Jeremy Zellner is the elections commissioner for Erie County, New York.
This is a year that comes right after the presidential, so there's a big drop-off from the presidential year as far as numbers go. But, it's important. These are important elections. You're voting for local officials who make your planning boards and who pick up your garbage and make sure that you're safe with your local police departments and so forth. So these elections really touch everybody's lives, and it's important to get out there and make your voice heard.
Next year, New York State is moving local races to even years. Democrats say that should increase turnout. Republicans say it will minimize the importance of local elections. It was standing room only last night at a school board meeting in Penfield, New York. Parents voiced concern over school security issues after the district received an online threat last month. Captain Matthew Cruiser with the Monroe County Sheriff's Department.
Absolutely would warn the community if we felt there was an active threat or their kids were in danger. We shut down schools for a few inches of snow. We are not going to leave them open when we think somebody's actively targeting your children.
But this parent tells Wham News the district is not taking security concerns seriously enough.
I don't know exactly what their agenda is, but right now it's not the kids and it's not their safety. And right now I really feel a need to pull my kids out of this district. I don't want them here really right now.
20 parents were allowed to speak at last night's contentious school board meeting there in Penfield, New York. This Saturday is National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., you can drop off all your unwanted, unused, or expired medications at your local fire hall or police station. Sergeant Logan Browse with the Pennsylvania State Police says cops have set up drug collection boxes all across the Commonwealth.
These boxes provide a safe, anonymous, free, easily accessible, and responsible way to turn in unwanted medications, ensuring they never pose the risk of misuse. You do not need to provide identification. There will be no record of your visit, and we won't ask any questions.
To find a drug drop-off location near you, all you need to do is visit the following website, dea.gov/takebackday. That's dea.gov/Take-Back Day. The Madison County, New York Health Department's looking for young adults to take part in an important mission. Those between the ages of 18 and 20 are needed to go with county workers to area businesses that sell tobacco and vaping products. Under supervision, these young adults will attempt to buy those items to see if employees are checking ID. These are paid positions, and anyone interested should reach out to the Madison County Health Department. Those of you looking to enjoy Pennsylvania's great outdoors will no longer have to choose between comfort and roughing it while visiting state parks. Family Life's Brian Query explains.
Starting next year, the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources will offer glamping, or glamorous camping, at 8 state parks. The glamp sites will include a choice of layouts with beds and setups that include a Keurig coffee maker, a mini fridge, rugs, lamps, a diffuser, electrical outlets, ceiling fans, air conditioning, and heating. Outside of the souped-up tents, glampers will find hammocks, wood fire rings, charcoal grills, camp chairs, picnic tables, and string lights. Reservations for next year can now be made online. There are a total of 61 sites available throughout the 8 participating parks, available for around $189 a night. Brian Query, Family Life News.
All right, Brian, sounds interesting. Thank you. It may not be to celebrate a Super Bowl title just yet, but the Buffalo Bills are planning to hold a parade nonetheless. This parade will happen in East Aurora on November 13th. It's to celebrate the premiere of the team's Hallmark Channel Christmas movie entitled Holiday Touchdown, a Bills love story. The event will feature the cast as they go to the Aurora Theater for the official premiere. That movie will debut on the Hallmark Channel November 22nd. Christmas will be here before you know it. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. The NBA season tipped off last night with a nail-biter in Oklahoma City. SGA came up big for OKC. Last year's MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, sunk a pair of free throws to give the Thunder a 125-124 double overtime victory over Kevin Durant's Houston Rockets. Elsewhere, Jimmy Butler's 31 points helped lead the Golden State Warriors to a 10-point victory over the LeBron-less Lakers in Los Angeles. It was the first time since 2002 that King James missed a season opener. Oh, by the way, in 2002, LeBron James was a junior in high school in Akron, Ohio. Hype is building around the World Series, which starts Friday in Toronto. The Blue Jays are playing in their first fall classic in 32 years, and they'll take on the defending champion LA Dodgers. Jays shortstop Bo Bichette expected to play after recovering from a knee injury that sidelined him for over a month. The New York Football Giants are making some changes on special teams. Big Blue has waived kicker Jude Mekatomney after he missed a pair of extra point attempts in that stinging 1-point loss to the Denver Broncos back on Sunday. The Giants coughed up a 19-point lead in the fourth quarter. The SEC has handed down its first $50,000 fine for faking an injury. Texas A&M becoming the conference's first program to receive such a fine. The third-ranked Aggies were found in violation of the league rule when defensive back Tariq Chappelle sat down on the field to stop play after the ball had already been spotted during the fourth quarter of the team's win over Arkansas. Lots of action on the ice last night. The New York Highlanders skating to a 4-3 victory over the San Jose Sharks. San Jose still winless after 6 games. Pittsburgh beat Vancouver 5-1. Sid the Kid Crosby, one of 3 goal scorers in the second period. Chris Letang notched his 600th career assist as the Penguins win their 3rd straight. At the Family Life Sports Desk, I'm Bob Price. And still to come on the Noon Report, ice tensions in New York and L.A. The Senate will try again today, and what it looks like to love your enemy.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. Christians in Nigeria are paying for their faith like no one else in the world right now. Attacks from Muslim extremists were once limited to mostly sacred holidays like Easter and Christmas, but today they're almost continuous. This year alone, the slaughter of Nigerian Christians has hit an unprecedented level. According to a Newsweek report, over 7,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria in just the first 220 days of 2025. That's an average of 35 killed a day. That's why I joined 33 other leaders of various Christian organizations this week to appeal to President Donald Trump to declare Nigeria a country of particular concern. Last month, the U.S. Senate took up a bill to do the same. Just days later, Nigeria's House of Representatives unanimously rejected the designation. But the letter to the president made a very strong case for the designation. Quote, U.S. law warrants CPC designation when a country is found to be tolerating serious violations of religious freedom, as well as when itself carries out violations. The Nigerian government is directly violating religious freedom by enforcing Islamic blasphemy laws that carry the death penalty and harsh prison sentences against citizens of various religions. It also demonstrably tolerates relentless aggression uniquely against Christian farming families by militant Fulani Muslim herders who appear intent on forcibly Islamizing the Middle Belt. The letter then continues, quote, Nigeria's government allows the militant Fulani herders to attack defenseless Middle Belt Christians with complete impunity. It fails to investigate the Fulani organizational structures and identify who's arming them. The authorities don't enforce the country's gun bans against the Fulani. They don't act to reclaim the stolen farms for their Christian owners, who are instead consigned to destitution in internally displaced camps that receive little, if any, government assistance. They rarely arrest and never convict Fulanis who attack Christians. Even when warned of impending Fulani attacks, government security forces are typically unresponsive or ineffective, end quote. In a speech before the UN General Assembly back on September 23rd, President Trump said to world leaders, Let us protect religious liberty, including for the most persecuted religion on the planet today, Christianity. There is no better example of what the president is talking about there than Nigeria. During President Trump's first term, he did designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. That designation was revoked 4.5 years later by President Biden. The Religious Freedom Report of 2023 under Biden's State Department, in a neo-Marxist take about the attacks there, blamed climate change for the so-called clashes between two rural socioeconomic groups over scarce natural resources. That theory is simply woke nonsense. The U.S. State Department is anticipated to break its 2-year moratorium on countries of particular concern designations in December. Now, there are concerns that the Trump administration might be considering listing Nigeria on the International Religious Freedom Act special watch list instead of designating it as a country of particular concern. The letter addresses that possibility. To read the entire letter, please visit breakpoint.org. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet.
All right, John, thank you very much. It's that time of the program where we need to go outside, check weather. Here's Kevin.
Here is your Family Life weather forecast for today, tonight, and tomorrow. In areas downwind of Lake Erie and to some extent Lake Ontario, frequent showers, rumbles of thunder, and a few downpours, otherwise mostly cloudy. In areas away from the lakes across the remainder of the region, just varying amounts of cloudiness today, tonight, and tomorrow with a few scattered showers. It'll be quite cool through the period. Daytime highs, upper 40s and 50s, overnight lows, upper 30s and 40s.
All right, thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm your host, Bob Price. Here's what's happening Wednesday, October 22nd.
We're hopeful that this will be the week when we break out of this and the Democrats come to their senses.
That's Senate Majority Leader John Thune ahead of a scheduled vote this afternoon on Capitol Hill to end the government shutdown, now the second longest in U.S. history. NBC's Ryan Nobles.
Democrats had held out hope that President Trump would be the key to bringing Republicans on Capitol Hill to the negotiating table. Instead, Trump has made it clear, until Democrats are ready to vote to open the government, there is nothing to talk about.
Senate Republicans are pushing for legislation today that would restore pay to essential workers who've been without pay since the shutdown started at the beginning of the month. So far, Democrats have been unwilling to go along with that plan. They've also opposed pay for the troops during the shutdown. Vice President J.D. Vance held high-stakes talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem today. It was to show support for a shaky ceasefire that Israel signed with the terror group Hamas. So far, the ceasefire is holding, according to the White House. Mideast peace envoy Jared Kushner vows Hamas will not have a say in the future of Gaza.
No reconstruction funds will be going into areas that Hamas still controls. And as far as the demilitarization goes, there needs to be a security force that they can feel safe in order for it to be the transition to be complete. So that needs to happen.
Hamas returned the remains of 2 Israeli men overnight. The bodies of 13 other hostages are still unaccounted for. ICE agents swarmed Chinatown in New York City yesterday in an immigration crackdown. Dozens of arrests were made. Reporter Tom Hansen is there.
Chaos in the streets of New York City as angry crowds surrounded federal agents Tuesday in Lower Manhattan. Agents descended on Canal Street in Chinatown, targeting street vendors selling designer knockoffs. As protesters made their way to the Federal Plaza to demand the release of ICE detainees, more agents arrived, armed in combat gear and a military vehicle.
Meantime, in Los Angeles, an illegal immigrant facing a judge today for reportedly using his vehicle as a weapon to attack ICE agents. Reporter Michael Wallace says the migrant crackdowns of late are starting to impact houses of worship in major cities.
This priest in Atlanta is celebrating Mass at his house.
So many of our people are scared to worship together.
This Baltimore priest is delivering communion to parishioners' homes.
If they can't come to my building, I need to go to them.
Some churches are posting volunteers at their doors to make sure ICE agents don't get in.
The Louvre Museum in Paris, France reopened today, 3 days after that $100 million jewelry heist. Thieves stole crown jewels once owned by Napoleon's wife. The section of the museum where the crime happened is still off limits. President Trump brushing off criticism over a $250 million demolition project project at the White House. The president's residence is under construction, so a brand new 90,000 square foot ballroom can take shape.
You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh. That's music to my ears. I love that sound.
Yesterday, excavators tore off the facade of the east wing of the White House. Democrats have blasted the project. Trump says donations will pay for it. Legal Eagles claim the building project could violate federal law because no agency approval or budget authorization exists to alter the White House during a government shutdown. You're listening to the Noon Report for Wednesday on Family Life.
Could Jesus intend for us to learn from even our enemies? And if he does, how would we get to the point where we would want to? These questions and more are all part of today's conversation on Family Life's Inside Out, where we focus on how God transforms his people from the inside out. I'm Martha Manikas Foster, and my guest to talk about becoming open to learning from anyone is Dr. A.J. Swoboda. Dr. Swoboda parents, directs academic programs, teaches, writes, farms, and occasionally fits inside out into his schedule. So, AJ, congratulations on the April release of your newest book, A Teachable Spirit, The Virtue of Learning from Strangers, Enemies, and Absolutely Anyone. Jesus was pretty clear about how his followers should treat enemies. So before we talk about what we can learn from our enemies, why do you think we would even want to?
You know, Martha, I think we live in a contemporary cultural moment where we are celebrated, we are affirmed for creating little social bubbles where we surround ourselves by people that think and believe everything that we do, politically, theologically, whatever. But from time to time, God, I think, is going to send someone that might upend something that we think. And I guess the question is that why would we want to learn from our enemies? Because Jesus loves to use surprising people to form us into his image.
What a great answer. So, AJ, what might we learn from engaging with people who think about God and about culture differently than we do? And how might God use this to develop us, not only as people, but as believers in him, in Jesus?
Yeah, great question. There is significant value in us today choosing to read the writings of our enemies. It's impossible to actually have a level of defense if you have never actually thought through the ideas of a particular person. Of course, the image is a little bit like an immune system. The only way that you develop your immune system is you've got to inoculate yourself with some version of the sickness itself. And that's how we develop an immune system. So I would say, Martha, that as Christians, reading people we disagree with is part of God's way of developing our immune system.
But like when we're talking about the people that we brush shoulders with, or we could every day, but we choose not to brush shoulders with, you know, what would we benefit from engaging with that kind of enemy?
I think the benefit of engaging with those sorts of enemies is that we're obeying what Jesus said when he said, love your enemies.
Well, there you go. Well, thank you.
Yeah, Dallas Willard famously said that the single thing that you can look for in a person who's been formed in the image of Christ is that they're people who spontaneously love their enemies. It's become a part of their virtue. It's become a part of the genetic makeup of their life. So why would we pray for our enemies? Why would we love our enemies? Sheerly obedience to the living God.
And we can grow in that by continuing to be in contact. Because if it's a spontaneous virtue, right?
You can't love somebody you don't know.
Yes.
I mean, it's impossible.
Yes.
Yeah, so to love your enemy implies that you've got one.
Yeah.
You've got to have one in your life in order to be able to love. I mean, he's speaking to the true, real human experience, Martha, that we all have. We all have people in our life, neighbors, family members, friends, coworkers, people that we maybe used to really get along with, but now we just see so differently, and we don't see eye to eye at all together.
Right.
Those people almost always, at least in my life, are almost always the ones that make me have to grow up the most.
Now
and
there you are.
They form in me the image of Christ. It takes no effort to love somebody that you agree with on everything.
Sure.
That's just a great way to create a club.
Yes.
It takes actual character to love your enemy.
There you are. Oh, yeah. So would you put on your pastor's hat for us and send us out with practical ways to engage with people that we disagree with so that we may actually indeed live as children of our Father in heaven?
Martha, I think if all of us could find one person, one singular person in our job, our coworker, a family member, somebody, one person that when we look at, we go like, they think so differently. They are so wrong on that topic. They are so wrong on this and that, and spend the next 10, 15, 20 years and try to advocate for their flourishing by loving and praying for them. I mean, it is a kind of character that is formed in us that you don't get by watching a video on YouTube, or you don't get by just reading a book. And this is Christianity on the ground, when we choose to love an enemy. And it's probably the hardest thing in the Christian life to do. But have one person that represents that quote-unquote enemy and embrace what Jesus told you to do. Love them and pray for them. Be in their life.
Wow, good stuff there from Pastor and Professor A.J. Swoboda on how to love your enemies. Inside Out with Martha Manikas Foster airs Wednesdays during the Noon Report, or online anytime at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or our website, familylife.org.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. An early November-like pattern will be with us over the next few days. Low pressure over the upper Great Lakes will spin cool, unstable air our way, which will generate plenty of lake effect showers in the belts and scattered showers elsewhere. The call for today, tonight, and tomorrow in areas downwind of Lake Erie and to some extent Lake Ontario, frequent showers, rumbles of thunder, and a few downpours, otherwise mostly cloudy. In areas away from the lakes across the remainder of the region, just varying amounts of cloudiness today, tonight, and tomorrow with a few scattered showers. It'll be quite cool through the period. Daytime highs, upper 40s and 50s. Overnight lows, upper 30s and 40s.
All right, great work. Thank you, Kevin. Finally at noon, we're celebrating color.
She comes in colors everywhere. She combs her hair. She's like...
Yeah, we've come a long way, haven't we, since the days of black and white. Reporter Bree Tennis has more on this National Color Day.
Researchers say color psychology is real, and color can make you do stuff. Fast food restaurants use yellow and orange because those colors are proven to make you hungry. But a green tablecloth will make you eat less. Blue makes you buy, red makes you buy more. White makes you alert, but pink makes you calm, but only in small doses. Today, celebrate color, go bold, and drag out your favorite, which statistically in America is blue. I'm Bree Tennis.
Thank you, Bree. And just like that, our time is up. That's our world. The world we live in. Wednesday, October 22nd. I'm Bob Price. Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report. Heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.